Well, hello there everyone. Genokids was the game that caught my eye back when I first saw footage for it, all the way back in 2022. And then it proceeded to fade into the back of my mind for about 3 years until I saw it appear again because of the demo on Steam, which I proceeded to play through multiple times because I had a ton of fun with it, and even mentioned it in my game demos video. Check it out if you're looking for random stuff on Steam to try. Basically though, the game has an awesome visual style that kind of feels like a comic book, with some Sega Dreamcast thrown in for fun. I like it a lot. Granted, there are a few points where the cutscenes feel a bit off because you randomly swap between 3D models and 2D artwork, but you know what, that's not that important. The gameplay-wise, they don't even try to hide their inspirations, especially when you're not so subtly getting to decide what control style you would like. Either way, this game is now here and playable, in the early access. Sadly, only the first act is here, but it gives us something to sink our teeth into, and something to talk about. And hey, a lot of this channel is about ranking bosses, so that's what I plan to do here, and we've got 4 bosses to talk about today, so let's talk about them some. Number 4, Fatty. First up on the chopping block, we've got Fatty, and would you believe me if I said there was someone complaining on the Kickstarter post that they called the boss Fatty because it was offensive to overweight people? Yeah, some people don't get bullied enough. Anyways, what can this boss do? Well, as you'd probably guess from his appearance, the answer is not a whole lot. He has a spit attack that's a triple shot, a giant leap into the air that causes a massive shockwave of damage, and then an attack where he rolls into you. Of these, the shockwave and spit cannot be blocked. Dodging is the only option. On the other hand, his roll can be blocked, so there is that. It's a simple fight, fitting of an early boss, but honestly, if it wasn't for the new battle music and the 8 health bars, I wouldn't have even registered him as anything other than slightly bulkier fodder. The leap attack is perfectly fine, but how about his other 2 attacks? How well do they work? Well, his roll attack will have him moving around the arena at a pretty high speed that I can appreciate, since it's also an attack you can perfect block, and if you do, you'll parry him, leaving him stunned and open to getting demolished, or you can bait him into crashing into the wall. This is actually pretty neat, and it's kinda like a better version of Yunobo from Tears of the Kingdom there. But then there's his spit attack, which is where it falls pretty flat for me, as if it hits you, you're gonna be locked into place and getting hit by all 3 shots, because this early in the game you don't have any quick recovery abilities, or any other characters you can tag out to. He does come back in the second to last level, but the only change here is there's a spike wall, which may as well be a non-entity in the fight, or at most, it's a way to shave off a health bar from him a little bit quicker as you can knock him into the wall. Theoretically, he can knock you into it, but he's not going to. If you don't count this guy as a boss, I honestly wouldn't blame you. Number 3, Valkyrie. So, fun fact, they actually redid the voice lines for this boss's introductory cutscene.
Alright, what the hell is this?
A Valkyrie.
Did you just come up with that?
Yes.
I actually like that new interaction a lot more, it kinda fits Blue's personality. Anyways, you'd think that for the demo boss this guy would be, you know, the first, maybe second boss of the game, and you'd face him in the second or third level of the game. But no, this is the second to last level of the first act, meaning this is also the second to last major boss in the game. Granted, they did make it a lot harder, as Valkyrie now has a lot more going on, and is able to output some real damage, so you have to respect his attacks. However, being a demonic Beyblade makes it harder to tell what attack is coming out, especially when half of the boss's attacks are just variations of aggressively spinning at you. And it's got some weird hyper armor that can lead to the boss shrugging off your super moves and chunking off a third of your health when you're supposed to be doing a lot of damage to him. And this is also the only fight I ever really noticed that was such an issue. Otherwise, the boss is fun. I like the laser rain attack that encourages you to keep moving, and the trap bombs set up in the arena that makes you have to mind your positioning and watch out for the air mines, because the Y-axis actually matters in this game, unlike a lot of action RPGs. This fight really is just a case of see how many times we can have a boss spin right round baby right round, and it still counts as each individual unique attacks. It's not bad, but you can kind of tell this was one of the earlier foes the developers created, which, hey, I do still think it is a pretty good boss, and I do still find the effort commendable here. Not bad. I like it, I just think that there's two fights that are better. Number 2, Jester. I might get some crap putting this fight above Valkyrie, but I don't really care, I think he's better. You actually do battle with Jester 4 times throughout the campaign, but there's a bit of an evolution with each fight, so I'm comfortable considering him a genuine boss fight, or at the very least, a noteworthy mini-boss. In his first phase, he's got a couple of attacks that you see frequently, such as an unblockable slap that is telegraphed with a blue flash, which he can do right after a teleport, or he can do it right after running up to you. He's got a blockable party popper that leaves him wide open if perfect guarded, and then he's got a move where he can fly through the air raining down explosive presence. There's no true combo BS here, so it doesn't really matter that you only have blue to fight him. Also, if I had a nickel for every time a game series had Kira Buckland voice a character named after a primary color, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. The 3 health bars may seem tiny, but they kind of are, but that's because there's a second phase of this boss fight where taking out his health makes him split in half, and now you have to fight both halves of the Jester at the same time, where the moveset has also been split in half. It's a simple fight, but it's a very enjoyable duo boss that's easy but fun to smack around, and I like it. His second battle takes place in a future chapter where you don't really see much of a difference other than you're forced to play as red, which does change how you approach the fight, but also not really because the answer is still beat the crap out of him. His third battle will take place in Chapter 6, where there's these spiked hazards rotating around the arena, and you'd think that'd make the fight more perilous, but his AI is kind of stupid here, and he's actually going to run into them more often than not, but it is pretty funny, so it does get a pass from me. The idea, though, is you're supposed to be more mindful of your positioning. It's just kind of weird that he seems to take more damage from the hazards than you do. Then his final battle takes place in the last chapter of Act 1 and the second to last boss fight of the early access, while you're accompanied by the game's main theme song and he's accompanied by a couple minions in a much larger arena, but also with more vertical elements thrown in so you can get more creative with how you take him on. If you want to fight him from above or below, it's up to you. You might think that the large arena could be a detriment, but honestly I think it helps the boss as it makes his attacks feel a little bit easier to stay on top of, and with the main theme playing in the background, the fight just feels like a victory lap before you get to the game's ultimate ass kicking.
As for you two, I thought I wouldn't have the pleasure of disposing of you myself. Yet here you are, barking at my doorstep.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
How about we pick up where we scampered off last time?
The final battle of Act 1, and by far the hardest battle, it's not even close. Throughout this entire playthrough, I only died once, and it was me getting careless with a spike trap in a bit of a platforming segment. Then I got to this boss at the end of Act 1, and she took me 16 attempts to win. She does not fuck around. She's got multiple phases, a wide array of attacks, alternate combo finishers she can choose to do on occasion, and she also loves to finish her combos with unblockable attacks, meaning you will need to dodge. The first phase seems daunting at first, but it's doable, and it's kinda like Millennia, where phase 2 is going to push your shit in so much that phase 1 will feel like child's play by the time you finally get to winning. This also isn't a fight you can just burst her down because she has 20 health bars, and it's also not a fight you can play super slow and careful either because again, she has 20 health bars. She will outlast you. And we haven't even gotten to talking about phase 2 yet. If phase 1 of the fight is tricky, then phase 2 is just straight up hard. You can't play it slow and careful, but you also can't play it over aggro without any concerns because neither option will work. No, what you need to do is play balls to the wall aggressive, but also be locked in at all times during phase 2, as she can now chain combos together and counterattack the second she recovers from a stagger animation. And considering her stagger animation is pretty much her doing a little backflip, yeah, you gotta be careful. And she can also choose to extend her combo finishers if she so wishes. Instead of doing just one unblockable thrust, she can do up to 3. I was prepared to say that her second phase is completely ruined from her screw attack being basically impossible to dodge, but then I also noticed that the handy dandy red flash appears when she starts it, meaning it can be parried. And parrying this deadly attack in phase 2 is a guaranteed stagger, which actually really nails the risk reward idea the boss goes for. Honestly, I can't quite say if this boss is worthy of the amazing tier or not, as it feels a little too extreme compared to the rest of the game, but who knows, maybe my thoughts on it will improve with time, and it could also just be a skill issue thing. I'm not entirely sure. It's a tough fight. Honestly, I would say this battle is harder than anything in Devil May Cry 1 through 4, not named Virgil. And also harder than anything in DMC, but that game sucks, so we don't talk about it. And once you bring her down to her last 3 health bars, she activates her Desperation move that looks big and scary, and it does hurt, but at the same time, you can pretty reliably just run to the left and jump with good timing, and you should be able to outlast the attack. It looks scary, but it's not too bad if you don't panic. It's more showing that the end is near. Honestly, I think the random combos she can choose to string together in the last bits of her health bar are way more dangerous than her supposed ultimate attack. But either way, it's an awesome fight with some fantastic music to cap off the game's first act, and that makes me very excited to see what's to come. It's challenging, it's tough, but it is fair once you realize that you can parry a lot of stuff, and it's going to push you to your limits, but in a good way. And that's going to do it for this video. Genokids is a lot of fun. I've enjoyed playing through the levels, getting the upgrades, completing the secret missions, and collectible hunting, and while we only have a few bosses so far, there's a lot of promise for the future, and I hope the devs are able to make it pay off. I enjoyed my time a lot here, but unfortunately this game suffers from the problem that most early access titles suffer from. It's only a small part of the game. The first few levels are fun, but they're also really just there for setup, which you do kind of need to get you into the gameplay. But then you reach Chapter 5, and finally you start unlocking new skills, the characters start developing, and the story starts to get interesting, and then it comes to an end. It's like kind of the Sonic 3 problem, I guess. But hey, the game is in early access, and if me wanting more is my biggest concern with the game, then I'd say that's a pretty good sign, especially for an early access title. I enjoyed it a lot, and while I can't casually recommend diving on into a title that's in early access, because I know that can be contentious for some people, I can more than recommend at least giving the demo a try. You'll find some serious enjoyment there. Anyways, that's all I've got for now. If you'd like to see more content of varying quality, consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you guys next time.